I'm Amanda.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is 90s Babies Nostalgia, where we rewatch and sometimes watch for the first time iconic tween entertainment from the early 2000s.
Just to be clear, we are not sponsored or affiliated with any of the shows or companies mentioned in this podcast. We just really like talking about TV. And today, the TV we're talking about is Even Steven Season 3.
3. We almost got a cadence there.
Yeah, it was almost there.
Get home from school, turn on my TV. Who are these friends staring right back at me? Now that we're older, why don't you come over and go back in time with me? 90s Babies Nostalgia.
Not that we have room to spare in this podcast, but I just want everyone who's listening to know that the reason this exists is that I really watch too much TV, as evidenced by the fact that since I finished the series a little earlier than you, and I didn't move on to Lizzie, I've watched all of Shadow and Bone. I've watched almost all of The 100, which is a 7-season show of like 13 to 20 episodes, 40 minutes long. I watched WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I'm also watching the 2 sports shows on Disney Plus as they come out, which is the new Mighty Ducks and something Shot. Get the Shot? I don't know. It has John Stamos from Full House, and he's like some basketball coach who's like been throwing chairs and has a bad rep, so he has to go teach high school basketball.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of TV.
Yeah, I would say that besides for this show, I'm really only consuming YouTube. And I've recently gotten really into Grace and Frankie on Netflix.
I haven't watched that because I saw this really cringe clip of it and I decided that I didn't need to watch it.
It's actually pretty funny.
I know a lot of people like it.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's pretty good. But I can only this is why this podcast is perfect for me, because all Disney shows are 22, 23 minutes long. And that's about, I can watch 2 to 3 episodes in a night. And then like my attention span is gone. Like that's all I can consume. After that, like I just don't have the brain to consume more than that. So do we want to kick it off? This is season 3. The final season.
Yes, before any Disney Channel show had gotten 4 seasons, which becomes a thing shortly thereafter. I also feel like in the first episode of this, I kind of like, I mentioned why we started with Even Stevens, but like shout out to the first 3 Disney Channel shows that were The Jersey and The Famous Jet Jackson and
So weird
because in hindsight, I've realized all 3 of them had at least one person who was like in all the DComs of the early 2000s, and I know their faces very well. So shout out to them, but back to Even Stevens season 3, the last season. And there's nothing really new about the premise or the characters except Nelson's mysteriously gone again.
Yeah.
Is Larry Beale
also,
in it?
I don't think showed up in any of the video or any of those episodes I watched.
I don't remember if he's in it or not, if we're being honest. Okay. He's not in many episodes after season 1, though. I think we can both agree.
Season 2 there's a handful, and season 3 he might exist, but probably not.
And Beans is now like a principal character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like even if he doesn't have a plot line in the episode, he's gonna show up maybe in like the bloopers at the end. Not the bloopers, but you know how they always do a fun little scene at the end? Beans will show up in
that. So what stood out to you? What do you want to talk about?
Well, first I want to say I think this is the best season.
I agree.
Like
season 2, I think had some of the most Even Stevens episodes by like quintessential Even Stevens episodes, like Influenza the Musical and the Halloween episode.
Sure.
But season 3 was like the most watchable.
Definitely. Because I even found myself after I watched the 12 episodes, I was like, oh, I could watch like a couple more. I didn't, but I was like, I could watch a couple more. Like, this is pretty good, you know?
I had a hard time picking them for you too because there were so many that like I feel like a lot more happened with the plot this time than before.
Yeah.
And even if they didn't, they were just like entertaining to watch. Like there's this whole episode where Ren gets a part-time job at the food court flipping toast with Ruby. Larry Beale is in that episode actually. I don't know if he's in any other. But yeah, and it's like it's a ridiculous episode about her first job, but it's still like a fun watch because they flip toast for a job.
I kind of love that. I think we have to start out just highlighting and talking about episode 1, the kiss, which I think all of you guys can guess what happens in this episode, but it starts out like right off the bat. One of the first scenes you see is Tawny and Louis kissing.
Accidentally. They like move their faces and just like accidentally kiss.
And then Twitty does like some snooping to figure out like, oh, how does Tawny feel about this? Because like Louis is kind of stressed. And then Tawny tells Louis she likes him, and then they become a couple like immediately.
I know, and they're like a real couple, like holding hands and hanging out and stuff, but like clearly don't know how to do it.
Yeah. And then kind of side plot, but it intertwines in this episode. Ren is writing and directing and like doing everything for the school play. She has no help, no teacher. And she rewrites the school play after some pushing from Coach Tugnut, and she ends up having Tawny kiss another character named Zach. Louis gets jealous of this and ends up ruining the school play and interrupting. And then at the end of the episode, there's this kind of cute friendship moment where Louis and Tawny decide that their friendship means more and that they're choosing to just continue to be friends and that maybe a relationship isn't the best thing for them at that time. Which I have to say, pretty mature.
Yeah, I was surprised that they decided to open season 3 strong, answer our like I thought Tawny and Louis was only going to be addressed at the very end of the series. I didn't expect it to be the start of season 3, and then for that episode to end with them just like amicably being like, we're both like 12, we don't need this right now. Well, 13,
yeah.
Zach is Brendan Baker, aka Johnny Tsunami, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's the same guy. I think that's really interesting that they choose to only ever use the same guy, aside from maybe like the Sadie Hawkins dance when Tawny brings some white guy.
Yeah.
But Brendan Baker generally is always the one who they like throw in there as like a possible love interest, and that really gets Louis going.
Yeah, they keep it kind of consistent, which is nice actually, because not a lot of things in the show are consistent.
No. Brendan Baker was on Christie's Kitchen and she didn't even remember that he was on the show.
Wait, what?
Yeah, she was talking about him from Johnny Tsunami and some other stuff. And then, which also I feel like I need to apologize because I definitely called him out for not being Hawaiian. And according to his IMDb, he's not Hawaiian. But she asked him if he was Hawaiian and he was like, my family is.
Oh.
So maybe he is.
Got it. Okay.
But anyway, but yeah, no, she asked him what else he'd been in, and he was like, I was on Even Stevens. And she was like, what?
Yeah, she's like, really? You have to give a shout out to a separate side plot in this episode is Donnie is exploring his emotional side, and you learn that Donnie has a hard time crying, and the father is encouraging Donnie to cry and telling him that it's healthy to cry. And just for this to come out in 2003, encouraging, a man encouraging his male son to cry and that it's healthy, I was like, wow, go Disney. Like, this feels very like a 2020 topic, not like a 2003 topic. I was like shocked. I was like, this is great. I'm here for this.
A lawyer dad teaching his like athlete 16, 17-year-old son.
I think he's 16 from the math that I've done.
Yeah, I really like it. And also, I just wanted to say that Louis is just the worst.
Yeah, he is the worst. Also, like, real theater kids, speaking from a real theater kid, don't give two shits about kissing someone in a school play. I feel like in TV shows, not just even Stevens, I feel like this is a common Disney thing, a common Nick thing. They play up the, like, stage kiss and the drama it causes between the friend groups, and I'm like, real theater kids did not give a shit if you had to kiss someone. It's acting.
Okay, so moving on. We don't see Louis and Tawny act romantically for the rest of the season
Until the closing episode.
What? I don't know what you're talking about. We're not spoiling anything. What's the next one that we want to talk about?
So now I think we have to go to episode 3, My Best Friend's Girlfriend, because this is kind of continuing in the romantic kind of series that they're bringing.
Yeah, because we don't get Louis and Tawny. We lose a lot of the tension because they've decided to just be friends. But then what we do get is
Twitty and
Alan,
Allison.
Twitty, and Allison, which I thought, okay, I'll summarize first, by the way, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, just like a side note, so the first 2 seasons, I wrote the summaries in our Google Doc. This season, Jessica wrote our summary. And the way that we summarize is so different. It had me laughing the whole time because mine is like, she almost falls off a cliff, but then it works out in the end. And like, Louis is a jerk to his friends and they get mad, but the power of friendship solves it. Hers is very like, there's no emotion and it's all the plot lines. Jessica does not miss a plot line. I miss half of them. I only remember the ones that I care about, but she's like, Twitty has a crush on Allison. Donnie and Ren race against each other. Louis gets jealous of Twitty. It's like very like bang, bang, bang. This is what happened.
Yep. I think that's just like my brain can only work like that. And then later I process the emotion. But in a summary, I can't process everything together. Like it just doesn't work that way.
You take notes when you watch and I don't.
I do take notes when I watch. I think it makes a difference.
Okay. So this one. Twitty has a crush on Allison, who is very cute. Also an Asian girl.
Yeah.
Felt the need to say that because we haven't had one since the pilot.
Nope.
And he goes up to talk to her, and it's like not so smooth. And and now I'm like trying to read your summary, but also, so we have this plot line running with Twitty and Allison. They like start this cute little relationship thing. And then they break up because she doesn't want to climb in this foam pit, which is a thing that we see Twitty and Louis doing at the start of the episode. They like climb in a pit where leftover foam gets thrown from a store, which is very ridiculous and I love it. And she thinks it's dumb, and so they break up. But at the same time, we have a plot line running where Donnie and Ren are in opposition to each other. So Ren beats Donnie rock climbing.
Mm-hmm.
What middle school has a rock climbing wall? Can you answer me
literally that? I think we could have a whole episode titled "What is this middle school budget?"
I know.
How much money does this middle school have?
We run all the figures and be like, they need to have approximately an annual budget of this much. Yeah. And so she beats him. She doesn't even want to do the rock climbing. They just like need someone else to face off against this memorial rock climbing. Also, Donnie's never in high school. He's always hanging out with the middle schoolers.
Yep.
She wins. He feels weird. They get like competitive for the rest of the episode, like with a whole limbo scene.
Yeah.
And then they have a final show off again against each other on the rock climbing wall. And again, Ren wins. But like, it's okay.
It's okay. They have like a little sibling chat mid rock wall where Donnie sees that Ren is trying to like purposely be slow so he can win, and
because she's so over it, which is
into
so
your
funny.
head. Yeah. And then they decide that like it doesn't matter what happens in the end. So it's kind of cute.
I liked this episode a lot, partially because I love.
Louis ends up interfering, getting Allison to show up in the foam pit, and then Twitty and Allison have this like, I missed you, oh my god, I missed you too, and then they get together for multiple episodes.
That's right. So Louis, who is jealous of Allison for stealing his best friend away for a bit, then is like, all right, Twitty's sad, I'll fix this. And she gets in the foam pit and she has fun, and the three of them throw foam at each other.
Yeah.
Very cute. I love this episode for both of its plot lines. I really like Allison and Twitty. I think it's cute. I wish it were in more episodes. I also like the stuff with Donnie and Ren because I think like it's realistic. Like you're always a rival with your siblings, and also those two are super competitive in everything they do.
Yep. Yeah, I do think it was a very realistic episode, really cute, and at least for me, one of the most iconic scenes to Even Stevens is that opening scene of the episode with Twitty and Louis jumping into that foam pit. Like when you think Even Stevens, you think that scene. Did you not remember it?
Like, I think I remember it. If I were to like think of Even Stevens for a bit longer, it wouldn't be the first thing that came to mind. But
well, to me, it was
Twitty
very
and Allison
iconic.
are one of the first things. Like,
Yeah.
I definitely thought she was in way more of the series, and I wish that she was, because I think it's a fun dynamic. But also, like, they're 13, 14. They don't need to be dating, so.
Yeah, no, they don't.
But yeah, I don't know. It was just like a cute, wholesome episode.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the next episode I would like to chat about also, I think, was very cute and wholesome.
What is that?
Band on the Roof.
Are we just gonna go chronologically for this one? Because it feels like it progresses.
I think because this is the final season, we'll go chronologically.
So episode 5, Band on the Roof.
Yeah, so this is shot in like a cheesy documentary style.
Rockumentary.
Yeah, rockumentary. That is what they call it. So Tom is shooting this rockumentary, and it is following the Twitty Stevens connection. And it's basically just following their reunion, and Louis has this suggestion to have a concert on the roof of the school during lunchtime, which then causes like Ren's goody two shoes brain to like freak out, and she's like, it's against the rules. And so then everyone ends up backing out, but Louis is like, no, I still want to do this. And then eventually they all end up joining him, and they have this fun little concert during lunch, and all the kids are having a good time, and they sing the song Perfect Day, which I definitely, once they started singing it, I was like, oh, I know all the lyrics to this.
I don't remember the song.
Oh, really? I remembered this song more than I remembered the Sacramento Girl song.
Oh, see, in my mind, when I think of the Twitty Stevens experience or connection, it's Sacramento Girls.
Got it.
I'd like to point out that Beans is in this episode. They really, like, it's so clear how they just shoehorned Beans into as many episodes as they could after a while, after they realized that the audience liked him, because I felt so bad for Artie. So like, we've seen the Twitty Stevens connection before, and Artie was one of the founding members as a bassist, and Beans is like, he doesn't know what he's doing, and he like makes Artie leave, and then Beans shows that apparently he plays the bass perfectly, and he is now the bassist for the band just because they needed him in there. And I feel like they targeted Artie because he was obese, and I need justice for the fat kid. I'm sorry. I grew up feeling like a fat kid, and I need justice for him. And like,
yeah,
as Stephanie Tanner would say, how rude.
Yeah. I also do agree. I think they just felt the need to fit him in, because like even the concert on the roof, it's like Beans, who's like 8 or
Who
9.
doesn't go to this school.
Doesn't go to the school, not even in middle school, is in elementary school, so should be at school.
And the reason he
Showed
can't
up
make
with
it.
the hamster cage on his head.
Yeah, everyone else backs out because they don't want to get in trouble. He doesn't have the same problem. He doesn't even go to the school, but he gets his head stuck in a hamster cage, which is never explained. But I love that they committed to the bit in that when he shows up on the roof, he has the hamster cage on his head.
Yep, I agreed, because when they brought up that plot line, I was like, this is pretty fucking dumb. And then when he showed up with it on his head, I was like, at least they committed. Like, I'll get
Yeah, if they
props for
hadn't,
that.
if he had shown up without it, I would have been annoyed.
Yeah.
But it's cute, and it also makes me think of like the Naked Brothers band.
Oh yeah.
Did you? Which was like, it was a mockumentary, is what it was officially was. Did you ever watch that?
No, but I know what you're talking about.
It was the same. It was a whole series. It started with a movie, and then it was a whole series about a group of kids who are in a band, and it was shot like a documentary, but because it's all like a little fake, it's called a mockumentary.
Cute.
But it was only a few years after. It was probably like, I don't know, too long after this that you didn't see it. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
The next episode, if we're going in order, is episodes. Did you have more to say?
I don't have more to say, and I don't have a lot to say about this episode, but we can touch on it if you want.
I want to touch on Little Mr. Sacktown, episode 6. It's also a performing arts one, except it's a pageant.
Yeah.
Tom Grabowski, who also has more episodes in this
season,
his cousin Grayson, that's is the reigning Little Mr. Sacktown. And Twitty thinks it would be a fun idea if Beans were to join the competition. And so Louis becomes like full pageant mom on him and is coaching him through everything. And we find out, I was so hoping it was going to go there, that Louis competed in Little Mr. Sacktown when he was a kid, but he didn't have anyone to coach him. So he really he failed, and he wants Beans to do better than he did. And Beans like gets really upset. He has a falling out with Louis because he hears Louis saying that he can't do it, and then he ends up doing the competition just like as he wants to, answering the questions kind of silly, doing, what does he do, like arm farting for his talent, like
he does what is it, Polly Wally Doodle. He farts Polly Wally Doodle with his armpit.
And he ends up winning runner-up, and Louis is like, this is what you should be doing, good for you.
Yeah.
So I really like this because I love imagining chaotic Louis as a little pageant boy. But I think you had more thoughts about the ridiculous side plot.
Yeah, I think this can be a running series. Jessica doesn't pay attention to the main plot and only has complaints about the side plot. So the side plot, I'm not going to get into it, but essentially Monique lets Ruby borrow her googly-eyed pen, and Ruby forgets that she borrowed it and keeps it, and Monique is pissed to the point that like Monique storms out, refuses to hang out with them, doesn't want to do homework with them when she finds out that Ruby's invited over to do homework with Ren too. Like, Monique is pissed about this googly-eyed pen, and she's like, Ruby should know she borrowed it. And it's like, it's a fucking pen. Like, just tell her it was your pen. She'll give it back. Like, why? It was just some stupid ass drama. Which I guess is what happens in like middle school, because they're 9th grade at this point. Because Louis and Twitty are 8th grade. So I guess this is kind of what happens at that age, is dumb drama like this. But it was so dumb. I was like, why are you fighting over a googly-eyed pen?
I think this is them trying to make up for the fact that the rest of their plot lines are like high schoolers.
Sure. Also, Ruby has a pet iguana named Jaws, and I think that we should just do a shout out to Jaws because I loved her little pet iguana.
I missed that, but shout out Jaws.
Yeah.
Because that's amazing.
Reptile lover over here, I did not miss the iguana.
Amazing. I also think Stephen Anthony Lawrence has joked about how hard it was for him to eat bacon after shooting this, which I'm sure is just like a joke and not actually hard, because Beans is always eating bacon, and that's where you see when he's like had this fight with Louis, he's like at a bacon bar or at a diner just like eating tons of bacon.
Yeah, like
He claimed they had like a bucket for him.
Yeah.
But it was a cute episode.
It's a cute episode.
But talking about Beans.
Yeah, the next one, episode 8, Close Encounters of the Beans kind. This is kind of when we go into the more obscure episodes again. So they've kind of been like very cute so far. Really fun, wholesome kind of plot lines, and now they're taking us back to kind of the more obscure Even Steven episodes, which they always throw in a few every single season.
Yeah, this is the deep chocolate of season 3, except I actually liked it.
Yeah. So Ren is paired with a 3rd grader creative writing buddy, and we find out that is Beans. And Twitty and Louis are watching a documentary about aliens, and they're basically questioning whether aliens are real. And while they're watching this documentary, a mysterious guy shows up named Mason looking for Beans, and Beans disappears. And so now they go down this thing where they're like, oh my god, Beans is definitely an alien, like this is like the FBI or something. And they kind of get Ren in on it too. Like at first she's like, you boys are crazy, but then she kind of starts to like believe them a little bit. And it's just things where like they follow him home into the forest and they get lost, and then they end up finding his home and they see that his parents are wearing termite costumes, but they think that his parents are actually like bugs.
Yeah, let's be clear. They don't know that they're costumes.
Yeah,
That's
they don't know they're
cover-up
costumes, but
story.
they are costumes. And so Mason is like out. This guy Mason is out to get Beans. Beans is over, and they end up hiding him. And they full on like ET him out of the house, like on the bike in the basket, which I thought was pretty great, actually. And then it turns out, which I thought was pretty dumb, it turns out that Mason works for the library and Beans didn't return a book.
Yeah.
But I do want to do kind of like a shout out here. I watched the Zoom reunion that the cast, so it was the cast and crew, the creator and lead writer was on this call. They did it last summer for the 20-year reunion, and they had mentioned this episode. And I guess in the original writing, it turns out that Beans is an alien and they never explain it. And obviously the episode then was kind of, they don't ever tell you actually in the episode whether he's an alien or not, but it just kind of connects to Mason being not with the FBI, and it's actually just a library book. But in the original writing, Beans is an alien, and they just never go on to explain it, which I thought was interesting. I was like, oh, that's kind of fun that they shouted that out. I would have never known if I didn't watch that.
There is a little clip at the end where Beans is back with his parents, and they're still in their termite costumes, which, by the way, were explained as his parents are exterminators and they were shooting a commercial as termites. Yeah. But there's a little clip where he like is talking to them and he's like, that was a close call.
Yeah. I guess that is true. I forgot about that little clip.
But yeah, no, the library thing like bothered me because like you could owe the library $500 on overdue books. No one's gonna come to your house.
Yeah.
And he goes to the Stevens house. He doesn't go to Beans's house, which would be maybe he put down the Stevens address or something.
That's what he says. He says that Beans wrote that address.
Okay, of course he did. And also the fact that this is the confirmation that Beans really isn't their neighbor because he lives out in the middle of nowhere.
Yep. Yeah, because he lives like kind of far. Also, I'm like, where do they live that they're just like in the forest all the time? But I guess Sacramento is kind of, that's not, I guess it depends on where they are, but the mountains are not that far from Sacramento. So there is nature in their backyard. But the fact that they just like are constantly walking through the forest in multiple episodes confuses me.
Yeah, it
Seems
it's weird.
unrealistic a little bit.
Also, in Chrissy's Kitchen throwback, where Stephen Anthony Lawrence was on, he was talking about how this entire thing was filmed on a lot. Like the whole neighborhood where they're riding the bike through is a lot that they built the street with all the houses. And apparently they like filmed it, watched it back, and then made them re-film it because Shia LaBeouf hadn't properly buckled his helmet, and they couldn't, because it's a full-on ET moment where they're riding a bike and like fly off, and they couldn't have him riding a bike without a properly buckled helmet on Disney Channel.
Yeah. Oh, funny.
I really liked that. It's a ridiculous episode, but I enjoy it more than most of the ridiculous ones I think that even Stevens has.
Yeah, my main note that it was a fucky episode, but I really liked it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think maybe you liked it because it's beans anyway.
Yeah, I like beans. Make beans the main plot and I'll enjoy it.
Is beans in the next one?
I
don't think so. Okay, I'm just gonna put it out here. I don't like the next episode that much.
Yeah, me neither, but I do have like a fun call out that I learned from my Zoom reunion watch for this episode. So episode 10 is Hutch Boy. I'm gonna read you guys, you all, my summary, because this is just going to show you how I write summaries, and normally they're a little better than this, but I had to leave Amanda a comment that said, I don't know what this summary is, it's bad, can you fix it? But I'm going to read you word for word what I wrote, and it's not going to really tell you anything about the episode, but this is what I'm giving you. Louis is flying a remote control squirrel at Tom and Twitty. Ruby was going to do a henna rinse on Rin, but ended up bleaching her hair. Blonde hair changes Ren. Tom... oh, sorry. Tom is a karate wizard of some sort and stands up to Lloyd. Ren turns into blondes have more fun. Louis and Tom train karate so Louis can fight Lloyd. Ruby gets together with all of the blondes at school to tell Ren that she's giving them a bad name. Lloyd and Louis become friends over mechanical stuff. That's all you get on that episode.
Beautiful. And she wrote a note that I needed to help fill it out, and I just didn't. I
saw that you didn't.
I knew the things that were missing. I felt like the main thing that was missing is the reason that Lloyd is bullying Louis. I don't remember what it was, and I was going to rewatch at least the start of the episode to fill this out, and then I was like, the fact that I don't remember is just like indicative of how much I care about this episode.
Yeah.
It's called Hutch Boy because Lloyd, I know he bullies Louis in shop class. He like makes him get in a hutch,
and he locks him in there.
Yeah, and he calls him Hutch Boy, and he gets the rest of the class to call him Hutch Boy, which, like, what does that even mean?
Yeah. Fun shout out to this episode this is one of the episodes where the writers chose to take information from the actual actors and write that into the script. So they found out that the actor that plays Tom is actually a black belt in karate in real life. And so when they found this out, they chose to write it in because they were like, how fun would it be if Louis is getting bullied and we're doing this bullying episode and the kind of nerdy outcast is the one who saves him. And since the actor was actually a black belt, they didn't have to do a stunt double.
I didn't realize that at all, because there was a trend in the early 2000s where there was always one kid who could do karate. And he still... Also, I didn't think it was karate in the episode. I thought it was like judo or taekwondo. I don't think it was taekwondo. I think it was judo. Or jiu-jitsu.
He says karate, but I don't know.
You know, it probably is, because I don't think white people in the early 2000s knew about any Asian martial arts aside from karate.
Yeah.
But for some reason I thought it was judo. But he still does it in a very exaggerated actor way that you wouldn't think that he has any idea what he's doing.
Sure. I agree.
But that is the thing that I liked about this episode, is that Tom teaches Louis to stand up to his bullies, which is kind of ironic considering that Louis is Tom's bully a lot of the time.
Yeah. I also think we just have to touch on fashion moment for a second. When Ren turns blonde, they put her in the worst wig. Her hairline is like to here. You can clearly see it's a wig. Like, you know how a bad wig is kind of like lifted, like you can see a gap from the person's forehead and the wig.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't fit like flush against their forehead. Like, it just
Mm-hmm.
looked so bad. I was like, if we were gonna do this whole plot line about Ren being blonde, we couldn't have like done a better wig. Maybe they didn't have the budget for it.
I didn't even realize it was a wig.
Oh my God.
Just
I
like
don't
you
know
didn't
how.
realize the mom Stevens was the weird lady in the Hanukkah episode with the prosthetics on. I did not realize that Ren was wearing a wig.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that she wasn't really blonde, but it didn't like stand out to me in that way. But I basically just made you watch this episode for the blonde stereotypes, because those of you watching on YouTube will see that Jessica's hair is actually more of a light brown now, but for a long time she was a blonde.
Yeah, I'm a natural blonde. I say this is my natural hair color now. Those of you who are blonde know that when you get older, sometimes it just gets darker naturally. But yeah, I was born blonde and then continued to highlight my hair blonde throughout high school. But even if I didn't, my natural hair color at that point was blonde. So watching this episode was pretty funny because I was like, I get why Ruby was like, oh my, like had to call Ren out, but I also was like, she's just embracing blondes to have more fun. Like, I'm kind of here for this, like, doesn't care,
Ren.
like, kind of just like enjoying going with the flow Ren.
Yeah, because as soon as Ren realizes she's blonde, she's like, oh my God, like, do you guys like, want to go to the mall? Like, isn't that fabulous?
Yeah.
And to the point where Ruby has to call her out and be like, you're giving a bad name to blondes.
Yeah.
And all the like 10 blondes sit her down and dye her hair back.
Yeah.
So that was a cute episode. We have more to say about it than I thought we would, considering I don't think it's a bad episode. I just don't think that it compares favorably to the rest of the season. And I think that is perfectly exemplified by episode 11, Hardly Famous, which like follows it up as such a strong episode.
Yeah.
So in episode 11, Barry Hudson, who is an actor of some sort who's apparently famous, comes to select students they can audition for SACY, SACCY. I don't remember what the acronym stands for. I just remember Louis is appalled by
Sacramento's something conservatory, and I think the Y stands for youth. I don't know. I don't remember what it stands for. But they all referred to it as sassy, even though it had the 2 C's.
Right. Because Louis was making fun of Tom, who is super excited to audition for this school. And I was so pumped for Tom to perform. And then it just, like, he was so strong last episode with his karate. And then he performed a song and it was atrocious. It was atrocious in the way that people who know how to sing and have to force themselves to sing badly are. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and like it was creepily about his mom. There was just a lot of things about the song that made it very atrocious.
Yes. So he does not go, but surprise, Tawny auditions as well. She's not hinted to the boys that she's going to audition. Louis and Twitty only find out because they're there to mock everyone else and like low-key support Tom. And Tawny performs this monologue. In hindsight, I don't think it was as great as they make it out to be, but you know, it takes everyone away, and everyone's very impressed. There's some little thing about Ren and her mom like fangirling over Barry Hudson, and he comes over for dinner, and then the next day Louis and Twitty decide to do an interpretive dance to try to also get in because they want to be supportive of Tawny. Not of Tom, but of Tawny. And also, really, let's be real, it's because Louis can't handle his feelings and he doesn't want to be away from Tawny.
Yep.
And Tawny sees this and she decides to tell them that she didn't get in. Even though she did.
Yeah.
Because she thinks her friends are more important.
Uh-huh. This is a very, very cute episode. And I think it shows, like, I don't know, the real struggle that, like, some students face. I'm not saying necessarily in terms of, like, going to an arts conservatory, but when kids are faced with, like, having to leave their friends and stuff like that. And they touch on that a little bit in this episode, which felt very realistic to that age point. And you get a little bit more of the, like, Tawny Louis romance, where they're not necessarily romantic, but you can kind of see, even though they've decided to just be friends, there's more there. And you don't really, you see that in episode 1, and then you don't get it at all until this episode now, which is about halfway through.
Yeah, and it's really just like, whether or not it's romantic, they're not ready to let each other go.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, do you think Tawny made the right choice? I love how much you're really thinking about this. Like, you're so... I can't wait to watch the footage back of you.
I know, because I think that... Oh, I don't know. What do you think? Okay, here's what I think. Here's what I think. I think that... I don't know if she made the right choice. I don't know, actually.
That was a great way of not answering.
Well, because, okay, what I was going to say is no, I don't think she did. Because going to an arts conservatory, clearly she's passionate about acting. We really see that in this episode. She's taking away her chance to pursue and develop skills that she's just not going to get at a public school. Like, there are theater programs at public schools, but if you truly want to develop those skills and you're being given this opportunity to go to a conservatory, it would be more beneficial for her. Now, if she decided that that's not something she wants to pursue long term, she's so young, then, like, yeah, picking your friends over that is probably the right choice.
I'm a very ambitiously driven person.
Yeah.
I think she made the wrong choice.
Yep.
I particularly think that if it's in Sacramento, she could have seen her friends on the weekends and after school.
Yep. You're not wrong. You are not wrong.
And, like, if she decided she didn't like the school, she could always transfer back.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So, but that's okay. Friendship, right?
Yeah. It would have been bad for the series had they, like, wrote her off, I feel. They had to leave her on.
I'm really curious to see how both of us are into High School Musical, the series. And so season 2 is going to come out soon. And we've seen a little bit of the trailer, but it's kind of like the same plot line, but if she had taken it. And I'm very curious to see what it's going to be like with Olivia Rodrigo just, like, isolated from the rest. I feel like she's going to come back, and I'm not thrilled about that, but...
Yeah, I think they're going to write it that she goes there and she's not happy and it's way harder and everyone's competitive, and she's going to decide that, like, where she belongs is at East High and she's going to come back.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw, but I just did, like, the biggest eye roll I've done since I was 12.
But that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, because Disney and the power of friendship.
Yep. Episode 14, Boy on a Rock.
Cutie.
This one's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, no, I really like this episode.
Okay, so in this episode, Allison and Twitty break up, and Louis sees Allison looking at him, and he thinks she's checking him out, and she asks him to meet her at the park.
And he has this whole meltdown. He talks to Tawny. Tawny's like, maybe she's not checking you out. And then Allison is straight up at the lunch line like, I really like your look.
Yeah.
And Tawny's like, okay, but like maybe you should tell Twitty. And he's like, I don't know, do I tell Twitty? Do I go?
Yeah.
He goes.
He goes. And he lies to Twitty. So not only does he go, he lies to Twitty about it. He says that he has like some sort of family commitment, I think.
Yeah, he's gonna do something with his dad that he does
shopping?
like once a
I
year.
think that's what it was. And so and so he goes and meets Allison in the park. He still kind of thinks that she's flirting with him, and then he learns that really he just reminds her of this famous painting that she's really inspired by, and she's doing a painting for her class called Boy on a Rock, and she wants to paint Louis. And Twitty comes and sees them, and in the moment where Twitty sees them, Allison is kind of adjusting like Louis's hair and his clothes, and so Twitty kind of sees them in this close moment that looks intimate even though it's not, and he gets pissed. They have a big fight.
But before the fight, Louis sees Twitty seeing them, runs through the park, runs through Girl Scouts, gets cake flipped on him, falls in some mud, looks like a sea monster coming back.
Yeah.
And I think there's a line where Twitty is like, why are you running? And Louis is like, because you're chasing me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to say I like this episode. I think it's cute. I don't like... Okay, I feel like there's so many confusing thoughts about this episode. First of all, they break up in the very beginning. Louis and Twitty are in the backseat of their dad, of Steve's car, and Twitty's just on the phone, and he's like, yeah, okay, sounds good, bye. And then they're like, so what about Allison? And he's like, oh, we broke up. I'm like, when?
Right now.
Like right now?
Yeah.
Like 5 seconds ago. So he just breaks up on the phone. Seems very cool, very amicable. I don't know. You never get an explanation. No. They're not back together ever again. You don't see them together in between this episode and when they got together in the foam pits. They're so cute and there's so much wasted potential, and I don't like that. And also, Louis just being like, this cute girl is checking me out. I need to lie to my friend and go to the park and date her now. Like I kind of get that if he were like between 17 and 20, because there are other implications there. But when he's a wholesome little 13-year-old,
yeah,
like, are you really that interested in Allison all of a sudden?
Yeah, and I think they don't play in enough into the dynamics of what happens if you now are pursuing someone that is an ex of someone you were close to. Which is more of a, I feel like, almost a college topic, even more so than it would be a high school topic. So I guess they're a little young for that. But it's like they kind of wrote that into the script, and that's what it is, right? He thinks he's having the potential to pursue a friend's ex, but then they never really explore that in depth or what that could be. And with this show, they have explored a lot of deeper things in depth. And this one, they kind of just keep it surface a little bit.
Yeah. I think they hint at it, or maybe we know that that's a possible issue as adults, but Louis is like, well, I don't know what she wants. Maybe I just go to the park and find out.
Yeah. Also, this season, and you can tell me if this happens in this episode, you can tell me if this happens in other episodes, because I remember it. We see the old men, kind of like the angel and devil on your shoulder, that classic thing, except it's these two old men inside Louis's head. Do we
having a poker game?
Yes.
Or a Go Fish game?
I don't think it's Go Fish. I
feel like it was Go Fish because they can't have poker on Disney.
Sure.
I don't know why. I just feel like there was a moment where they were like, do you have any twos?
Yeah.
No. Liar!
Yeah.
But maybe not.
I know. I think actually you're right. Do we see them in any other episodes?
No, we don't, and it's such a shame,
It
and
is a
I feel like
shame.
that's such a missed opportunity because they were fun. They fight the whole time to help decide Louis's moral dilemma, but also there's a moment where he mentions them to Twitty, like, offhandedly, and Twitty knows exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He's like, "Why do you keep listening to those guys?" Or, like, or he's like, "Oh, the old men in your head told you that?" Like,
Yeah.
if Twitty gets all this info, I want to see it more. I thought it was funny. Although a part of me was like, is Louis schizophrenic?
Oh, interesting.
It's just a fun little bit that they do that made me feel like
Yeah, I
Louis
do
might
think
be
they
a little
explored
more
it more though, because I
unstable.
really liked the old men thing. Because it's a play of the angel and devil on your shoulder, and it was done really well. The actors that they brought in for it, I actually thought did a really good job. It was fun. Yeah, I was hoping they were in more episodes. I'm kind of disappointed to find out they weren't.
The next one,
Hmm.
also adult themes. It's not adult at all, but well, okay, in the way that the last one did not go into the deep themes, I think episode 16, Snow Job, did very much.
Yeah.
So this one, Ren's plotline, I actually don't know. I think you could argue they're 50-50. There's not like one in particular that stands out more.
Yeah.
So Ren's doing her little piece reporting for a track and field meet that's coming up. It's a big deal. She like throws a shot put for fun, takes out their pole vault person, who is, this is where we kind of find out how old Ren is without them ever officially confirming it, because they mention that the girl is the best pole vaulter in 9th grade in whatever, Sacramento or something, which means that Lawrence Junior High does go up to 9th grade. Ren is in 9th grade.
We do find that out in an earlier episode. I just want to call this out. In episode 11, Hardly Famous, for the Sassy auditions, Ren mentions, because someone makes a comment of like, oh, are you not auditioning, Ren? And she makes a comment that the auditions are only for 7th and 8th graders. So she doesn't say she's in 9th grade, but it is inferred in that episode because she does say, oh, they're for 7th and 8th graders only. And then now this episode 16 is where it's kind of confirmed that for sure she's in 9th grade.
I didn't pick that up, but thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So Ren's kind of in 9th grade. Anyway, she takes out the pole vault person. So now her plot line for the rest of the episode is to learn how to pole vault, because apparently no one else can do it that possibly has more experience than her. And Ren's like, you don't know me, I can do it. And there's a new track and field coach who isn't Coach Tugnut, which I find so interesting. She's weird. She's got crazy hair. And why did, of all the times to bring in a new coach, now is when you bring in a new coach? For a second, I was like, are we at a different school? Louis says it's called Snow Job because he pranks Wexler at the beginning by covering his house in snow, calling in, or like interfering with his radio to make him think that there's a broadcast about snow, which I think is so clever, the way that he does this.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
then Wexler like calls the admin and is like, we have to close the school. It's a snow day. And they're like, sir, are you having a stroke?
Yeah.
And Louis, it turns out, did all of this just because he wants to avoid taking his algebra test because math just isn't sinking in. So then the rest of the episode is he gets suspended for a week, first of all.
Yeah.
Does his homeschooling with his mom. I love that we get more Eileen Stevens.
Yeah.
And he still doesn't want to do his algebra. And she's like, honey, what is wrong? And she convinces him to ask for help. And he asks his math teacher for help and he gets it. And this is where I think I appreciate them going further in depth, because a lot of kids struggle with different topics, with different subjects, and they don't ask for help.
Yeah, I think this episode felt like very relatable, especially when you're thinking of the kids who are watching this episode, right? Who grew up on the Disney Channel, who were younger and impressionable, enjoying this TV. It's such a good message in a fun way that they shared, that it is okay and it's acceptable to be like, I need help, I don't get this, because it's really tough and it's really embarrassing.
Yeah. And I don't know, I liked it.
I liked it.
I just
The
thought
Ren
that it
plot,
didn't. I thought
I
it
don't
handled
know
it
if
well.
I liked as much, but the Louis plot was really good. I had a hard time with the Ren plot because I don't think we followed up, but she keeps going. She practices and practices. She sucks at pole vaulting. Then for the championship, she knocks over it. I think she gets like 3 tries. And she knocks over it the first 2 times. And then the last one, she just magically makes it over and they win the championship.
The only time she ever makes it over the bar is that last third try. Every time she's practiced, she's missed it. And they
And it's
apparently
not like
have such a good
she's
track.
missed it but got close. She's like really not gotten close at all and has just like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she kind of like falls
She was
over
really
onto
bad,
the
and then her
bar.
stunt double came in and nailed it.
Yeah, literally.
And Lawrence just has like such a good track and field team that everyone else like did so well that she just had to clear the bar. That's it. I will say, shout out to Artie, justice for Artie. He's the shot put guy in this episode. They wrote him out of the band, but they put him on track and field.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And he kicked ass. They put him on track and field and they showed him kicking ass.
And stereotypically, the big guy throws the shot put. But it's fine. Because he's back.
He's back. Yes, he is.
I just have to say, Snow Job, there is no reason to title it that particular, there's no job in there. There's no job. So the only reason that you would title that is because as an adult, you thought it was funny and it made you giggle because it sounds like a sex joke. That's what I'm saying. I don't think you're convinced, but
I'm not convinced, but I'm letting you have it. I'm letting you have it.
Episode 17, we get more beans.
More beans. Beans on the brain. In this one, kind of fun episode too. This season's just really great.
It's so fun, right?
It's season 3 was, yeah. So Bean's cousin Chris is in town. She's super cute, adorable. And Beans decides that only one of, so both Twitty and Louis see her, and I think Tom too, see her from afar, and Beans decides that only one of them gets to meet her.
Because they're all bribing him. They're all like, you're my best friend. I love you. Yeah.
And so Louis bribes him by agreeing to take him on a boat ride, but he doesn't actually take him on a boat ride. Instead, he just kind of like, I don't know, I feel like gets Beans to stay off to the side.
So Beans shows up in a full cute little sailor outfit, ready for his boat ride, and then Louis is like, actually it's a gondola and it could only fit two people. And he just like pushes Beans off to the side, so then Beans can't even make it on.
Yeah.
And he's like sad and you can see him from the distance.
Yeah. And then him and Chris go on this gondola ride. They're flirting, they're getting to know each other. It's super cute and adorable. Louis asks if he can put her arm around her, and she says yes and thanks him for asking. And then he asks if he can kiss her, which then she's like, wait, what? But then he repeats himself, and then he sees Beans on Chris's face. So Chris's face kind of like morphs into Beans' face. And so he doesn't end up kissing her because he kind of freaks out and like has the gondola go straight back so he can get out, and he like runs away and totally freaks out. He talks to Tawny, and Tawny plays therapist and is like, well, Beans was showing up because you were having a guilty conscience about, you know, not taking him on the boat ride when he was supposed to be there. So you need to clear that up first. So he goes and clears that up, and then he ends up going to kiss Chris again, and then Beans' face shows up again.
The Beans guilt starts because they're in the boat and Chris is looking at Beans on the shore, and she's like, aw, poor little guy. And Louis makes up a lie about, oh, his stomach, he wasn't feeling well or something. That's why he couldn't come. Yeah. And Chris is like, isn't he just the sweetest? Isn't he so cute? I don't even remember if there was a side plot to this. I feel like oh,
So
there
the
is.
side plot
There's
is
like a
that
great
Donnie
side
hurt
plot.
himself on a football injury, but then you kind of find out that, like, yes, he did hurt himself, but he's healed now, but he mostly embarrassed himself, so he's pretending to still be hurt because he doesn't want to go back on the field because he's feeling very embarrassed about what had happened. And
Okay, but you're leaving out the best part of this plot line.
so then he starts a salon at the
So
house.
before anyone knows he's faking, they just think he's out with a sports injury. Monique and Ruby are like, oh, poor Donnie.
Yeah.
He's so sweet and sensitive. And they're having a little spa night. And he's like, girls, don't forget to moisturize. And like, this is good for oily skin. This is good for pores. Because, you know, Donnie's all vain and he's into his products. And I love it.
Yeah.
And then this leads to, they just want to include him. They want him to feel better. And this leads to him running a whole spa for Ren and her friends.
Yeah.
And I just really enjoy that they
inside their house.
I really enjoyed that they like play with his gender a bit with that particular stuff.
Yeah, I agree. They let him his femininity come out a little bit, which I enjoy.
This is one of the episodes I remember a lot. The way that you remember the foam pit, I remember Beans' face being imposed over a girl's head.
Oh, I didn't remember this episode. That's interesting. Okay.
I also think it's worth noting that the girl that plays Chris, I didn't look up her name, is Loretta Modern from Pixel Perfect, which is a DCOM, also starring Phil of the Future's Raviv Ricky Ullman. Did you ever watch Pixel Perfect?
No.
Okay, so but basically he creates this like rock star hologram.
I have watched it.
Okay, she's the hologram, and just like like she hasn't done much since this, but imagine like you're the definition of perfection.
Yeah.
In your main role.
Yeah.
Felt the need to say that. Also, I just think Disney does that all the time, or like they never let anyone lead anything if they haven't at least had a speaking side role in one episode of something.
Yeah. Yeah, they have to prove themselves first. All right, we have a couple more episodes you want to highlight.
Episode 18, Stevens Manor. I put on here, it does not contribute to the plot whatsoever, but Jessica works in hospitality and I thought that she would find it funny. So, Louis is going to be home for the weekend alone. Ren is going to Ruby's. Donnie is, I don't know, somewhere probably like training or something. And the parents are off on their honeymoon in Napa. And so he decides, I think they need money for something maybe. He decides to open a bed and breakfast.
Yeah, they want to go like snowboarding or skiing or something, I think.
The parents?
No, Louis and his friends. That's why they need money.
Oh, right. Yeah, they want to go snowboarding, I think.
Yeah.
So that's why they need money. So they decide to run a B&B. He decides to run a B&B out of the house. And all of the friends show up. And I'm so here for this. They're just like, oh, this is what we're doing for money? Yeah, bet. Like, let's go. And they run like a little dining room situation. They've got games and activities. But then Ruby like can't shut up about this guy who dumped her. And then he calls her and she's on the phone for hours. And Ren's like had it up to here.
Yep.
So she goes home.
Yep.
Finds out everything. But you know what? Ren doesn't call mom and dad because there's two hot twins and she's the new activities coordinator and it's time to play some games.
Yeah.
And then Ruby shows up and the four of them just continue to play games while Louis and his friends all have fun. But the problem happens when Eileen calls home to find out how Louis is doing. One of the guests is also named Louis. And the woman who answers the phone is Louis's wife.
Yeah.
So when Eileen calls and this woman answers and she asks if Louis is there, she says Louis hurt his back because Beans walked all over his back. Her husband, Louis.
Yes.
So Eileen Stevens is worried, as a mother would be, decides to come home. I don't even remember how Louis Stevens finds out that she's coming home. I think one of them overhears her going to her husband Louis and being like, "Who's Eileen?" Well, she's coming to get you in 2 hours.
Yes.
So they find out that the parents are coming home in 2 hours, so they're like, we got to get everyone out here, but we can't ruin their experience. So they trick them. They change all of the clocks. They close all the blinds so they can't see outside. They make them a breakfast smoothie, blending all the breakfast foods in one blender. It's disgusting.
Yep.
And they tell them that it's 7:00 and like it's time to go.
Yep.
And then they get a good review in the on television, and that's how the parents find out, because the parents have to find out. But I just think it's ridiculous. It's an insane premise, and I just want to know what all those guests thought when they left and it was pitch black.
Yeah, it's a crazy plot. It doesn't make any sense. There's a lot of holes, but it is really fun. Also, the game that I just have to highlight this. The game that Ren plays with the hot twins is called the organ donor game. Let's just talk about what the fuck is that game. It was weird. It's
You
like,
wrote
can I trade
that.
your kidney for a liver? It's weird.
It's a non-trademarked operation is what it is.
Yeah, sure. Yes, that is what it seems like, was a non-trademarked operation.
Yeah, because aren't there moments with like the buzzer or something?
I don't think there's a buzzer, but they are like picking out pieces. Yeah. I do just want to say, you can't just start in case anyone watches this and thinks that you can't start a bed and breakfast in your own home. Like, that's just not how it works. Like, yes, you could, but you have to be permitted and licensed. And if you want to serve food, that's additional permits and licenses. So the fact that they think like, oh, everyone's just going to be out of town for the weekend, we're going to turn the house into a bed and breakfast, and I'm just going to post it online. Like, you would have city health department at your home in like hours.
Even if it's only for one night and they don't know about it?
Hmm?
Even if it's only for one night and the city health department doesn't know about it?
But how did they get these bookings? Because they're like, well, online you said you had an aquatic center. So it's like, clearly they posted about it somewhere.
And you think that the city health department would find out within time?
I do, especially after it was posted on TV.
Well, yeah.
But at that point, it was done with, so I guess you can't get in much trouble.
Also, the woman who talks about it on TV is the guest who's clearly having the worst time.
Yeah, but then she's like, it's so great. I slept so well.
Yeah, she's like, from the time my head hit the pillow to the time I woke up, it was like, I don't know. She slept so deep, I don't know. It was a lot. I just really liked how they all show up together.
Yeah.
And they all make it happen.
Final episode. Episode 22. Louis Stevens. Eileen wins the race for senator. So they're going to move to Washington. Well, this is how the episode starts, is Eileen wins the race. And they're going to move to Washington. Well, it's called early that she is the predicted winner. Louis was going to tell Tawny that he's going to miss her, but then he chickens out, so he makes a tape for her instead. And we also find out that Tawny does the same, ends up making a tape for Louis.
Because he makes Beans go in and try to steal his, but instead Beans steals hers.
Yeah, he makes Beans break into Tawny's room to steal his tape back when they find out that Eileen actually didn't win. They called the wrong winner and that it's going to the other candidate. And so Louis finds out he has the tape from Tawny, and the episode kind of ends with like everyone just being happy that they're going to stay in Sacramento and they don't have to move. But Tawny, you watch Louis and Tawny watching each other's tapes, and they both say, I love you. And then it flashes to them at school, and you see them like holding hands and walking down the hallway together.
Yeah, they don't say it. He just goes like, I saw an interesting tape last night. And she's like, so did I. And then they hold hands.
Yeah. It's pretty cute.
They also both start their tapes off with I don't remember if it was chili fries or chicken fingers. It was one of those two, I think.
I think it's chili cheese fries.
chili cheese fries because when they were talking, when they were like saying goodbye before they filmed the videos, that's what they talked about. So they both start their videos off by being like, I didn't want the last thing we talked about to be chili cheese fries. So
Yeah.
Which I thought was a really cute touch.
It was really cute. Yeah. The only thing that really pissed me off about this episode is it doesn't feel like it does not feel like a series finale. Maybe they didn't know that was going to be the end of the series when they filmed it and wrote it, because who's to say?
I think they did, because at this point they never went more than 3 seasons.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But also, we don't get another Tawny and Louis kiss.
I know.
They just leave us hanging. We don't get another kiss.
I started us off in season 1 trying to make sure that we watched like unique episodes and also follow the Tawny and Louis plotline. And clearly it was the right call, because this is what they decided was the finale. Like, the way that you don't think that this is a series finale or a season finale, I think it would have been more so if they actually left for Washington. I think that would have wrapped things up and been like a cleaner cut. But they clearly just thought that, like, you know what the kids want to see? Louis and Tawny.
Which they're not wrong. It was cute. But I do think it would have wrapped it up if there was still that Louis and Tawny moment of them watching each other's tapes, but them being in Washington.
Yeah, and then just like call or something. Yep. Or like watch it before he leaves, have a little kiss, and then he leaves or something.
Yep.
I want to give a little shout out to Coach Tugnut, who goes all the way to Washington to be with Donnie to help him train. They're training for the gymnastics for the Olympics, because there are no men's like aerial gymnast or something. Or like particular type of gymnastics. There are no men who do it, but he knows that in the next 4 years they're going to start letting men do it. So he's training Donnie to do it. Yeah. So he gets permission from his girlfriend that he lives with and goes all the way to Washington, D.C. But then you just see him like crying in D.C. at the end of the episode because they didn't go. And he did.
Yeah.
So like, do you think he came back to Sacramento? Do you think no, I feel like he had to come back because he's too
I feel like he had to come back. Coach Tugnut and Donnie, I feel like, are a pair.
I was just watching Nick Spano on Christy's YouTube, and he said that one of the questions he gets the most is, what was really going on between Donnie and Coach Tugnut? And he's like, it was a wholesome friendship, guys. That's it.
Yeah. It's like, was it?
Like, to us, it's all very sus, but...
Yeah. Do we want to do best and worst episodes?
Yeah, sure. What do you think?
So, I'm kind of torn with best episodes. I think my favorite of this season was Band on the Roof.
Mm-hmm.
But I think most iconic for me, like in terms of remembering it, was My Best Friend's Girlfriend.
I think My Best Friend's Girlfriend.
Yeah.
I wrote 3. I wrote Boy on a Rock, My Best Friend's Girlfriend, Louis and Stevens. It's My Best Friend's Girlfriend because we got a good... This is also where we get the Ren and Donnie plotline, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's just... I just think it's so... A Band on the Roof is cute. I think all of these ones are cute. I think season 3 is great.
Yeah.
But I just... The way that we often were looking for like episodes that had quality plot lines.
Yeah.
I just think that My Best Friend's Girlfriend has it all.
I agree.
On a phone pit.
Yeah. Because also what's nice about that is you have Louis getting jealous, but then Louis is also the resolution, which is kind of fun because he's the one who brings Allison and Twitty back together.
Yeah, we get lots of his friend, but we get cute Allison, and we also get Louis learning a thing, maturing a bit.
Yeah.
And we get Donnie and Ren.
Yeah.
All the kids are covered, and some of their friends.
I think worst, we're going to agree. It was Hutch Boy.
Hutch Boy?
I think so. Like, you guys heard what I wrote as my summary. Like, clearly I was not entertained enough to even try.
This one's blonde Ren, right? Yes.
Yeah, that's
This is
blonde.
blonde Ren and bullied Louis.
Yeah.
My other contender is Stevens Manor.
See, where I didn't think that was a bad episode. I thought it was a good episode. It's just there's a lot of, you have to suspend your disbelief during that episode.
It's the only one where I didn't like Ruby. Like, I just wanted her to be better. Like, stop talking
Yeah,
about
but Ruby's kind of like that. Like, I didn't think, it didn't seem not Ruby-like. She is kind of she does have kind of an obsessive personality. Like, it's season 1 or season 2 where she's obsessed with the boy band. So, like, we kind of see that trait
Season
in
2,
Ruby. So
episode
it
1.
didn't seem unlike her character to behave in that way.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess Hutch Boy, because I remember it the least. It gets
Okay.
to be the worst.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Any final thoughts on the characters? I kind of want to talk about the characters in general. Like, are they good people? Are they not? But also just like, I don't know, which ones do you like? Which ones could you have done without?
Okay. I think it's hard for me to say which ones I could do without, just because I think that every character was obviously written into the plot for a certain reason, and then you just like grow to understand their role in the plot. However, Principal Wexler stretch. He's an awful principal. He's an awful human being. Like, he does not support these kids. He almost like supports the bullying and like the manipulation of these kids, because Ren is hardcore manipulated.
He uses Ren
Yeah.
for so long.
Yeah.
And then he uses her rivalry with Larry Beale for his gain at one point too.
Yeah.
Actually, at multiple points.
Yeah, he's just an awful, awful, awful character. In terms of love, I think my favorite characters that I love, that I think, I'm not saying these actors are good people, but I think the characters really connected and made sense, is like watching the friendship and the growth between Tawny, Louis, and Twitty from season 1 to the end is really what made this show.
I think there's even an episode that I probably had you, because we didn't talk about it, that I had you skip, where everyone goes to the beach for spring break, and it's a really cute moment where like Twitty and Louis have a bit of conflict, because Twitty like wants to hang out with Johnny Tsunami and go surfing, and Louis feels left out, so he like tags along, and then Twitty's like, sometimes I just need my space, man, and Louis is like, but I love you. It's very cute. So I agree. I think their friendship is great. I also am glad that I can't confirm, but this is probably the only series where we have to constantly make disclaimers that it's not about the actors, and their quality as people.
Yeah.
I love Tawny and I love Allison. I wish we got more of Allison. I can't make a definitive thing that she's my favorite. I think that actress is in some DComs as well, and I just generally like her demeanor and the way that she talks. Love the girls. Tom, sometimes he is my favorite character and sometimes he is my least favorite character. Yep. And I just needed to give him that shout out, because he's either pissing me off or making me really happy, and there's no in between Tom. There's no Tom that I have zero feelings about when he's in an episode.
And I think that's the point of him, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like he's their friend, but they keep him at an arm's length. I'm going to rival you with Wexler, though. Coach Tugnut is the fucking worst.
Yeah,
he and Wexler are not good people. No.
I agree.
But Tugnut is creepy as hell. He's awful to them. They have that whole influenza song where he's like, I'm the master of the gym. And he's like, in the dodgeball episode too, like he's constantly like trying to torture these kids and finding
you bringing up the influenza episode. This is not related, but I just have to mention this. Because another thing I learned watching the Zoom. So the actor who plays Coach Tugnut wrote all of the songs for Influenza the musical.
Well, now I feel bad. Those are great songs.
Yeah. Well, obviously, like, the actor isn't a bad person. His character is a bad person, though. I think that's accurate to say. You know, his character is for sure a bad person. But I thought that was kind of fun, just you bringing up Influenza the musical. He wrote all of those.
He made himself the villain.
Mm-hmm.
I
He
also
understood
don't.
the point of his character for sure.
I have to say that I like all of the Stevens, but I don't think this is colored by my judgment of Shia now. I just can't tell if Louis is a good person. Like, I think he shows up a lot of the time, but a lot of other times he does questionable things.
Sure. I also think, like, who are we to judge someone who's 14? Like, yeah, when you're
That's
that young,
fair.
you're gonna make some bad choices.
That's fair. I did some fucked up shit.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that that's accurate. Where now that we're getting more into like the Lizzies and the Ravens and stuff like that is what we're gonna do next. Those start more quintessential Disney, where the characters I feel like are a little more wholesome and they don't get into, I don't know,
As
I guess
much
they
trouble.
do get into drama, but not to the extent where like Louis makes some bad decisions and those are really actually like shown and explained, and I think it's more realistic to what it is like to be a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah, the other shows coming, and I think most Disney Channel shows after even Stevens, the protagonist, there's generally not a split protagonist the way that there is with Louis and Ren,
Yeah.
and many more of the protagonists are Ren. They are the type A, they are the perfectionists, they're like the favored child, and it's their brother who is constantly causing chaos. They keep the dynamic, but they don't make the main character go through it.
Yeah. I'm going to write about that.
I think overall, I enjoyed Even Stevens. That was good. It set up a lot of things for the rest of of Disney Channel. And do we want to get into where are they now?
Sure.
So, where are they now? Our cast of Even Stevens. So Shia LaBeouf, 34. Yeah. The reason we've had to disclaim a few times, he became some of my personal favorite internet memes with the "Just Do It" video, and also when he live streamed himself in a movie theater watching his entire filmography for like 2 days. That shit was iconic. I just have to put it out there. He's done some performance pieces. He obviously got big from Holes and Transformers and Indiana Jones. And he's since been in more offbeat films.
Indie films, yeah.
Yeah. He even directed one, which was Honey Boy, which I think he also wrote. It was like loosely based on his life. I think particularly his relationship with his dad.
Yep. Yeah, like his experiences being a child actor in relationship with his dad. Yep.
I do think Shia is a talented actor. I don't think he's talented enough to justify I don't think anyone's ever really talented enough to justify when they have abusive patterns. So he does have an arrest record for battery and public drunkenness, went to rehab in 2017, I think primarily for alcohol, but I don't know if they were all, so for some reason my brain wants to say methamphetamines, but I think that was his parents. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he's now was accused by FKA Twigs, who is his ex-girlfriend, of abusing her mentally, emotionally, and physically. And now he has also admitted that he's been doing that to people in his life for a long time. I think Sia also accused him of doing so. So I don't know what's next for him. I imagine it'll be harder for him to get work. I know a film that he was in just came out recently, and it's kind of doing like the award circuit, but he's in it, but so is the rest of his cast, and you don't want to like discredit everyone. There's hundreds of people that go into making a film. He just happens to be one of the lead actors, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that's Shia.
Yeah. Christy Carlson Romano, so she's 37. I couldn't speak there for a moment.
I was like, is it you or is it the age?
Yeah, I don't know. I got stressed. She's the voice of Kim Possible, which became Disney's longest running show until Phineas and Ferb. She did some Broadway after. Notably, she was Belle in Beauty and the Beast on Broadway for a little bit. And she's done a lot of like ABC Lifetime type movies. Now she has a super successful YouTube channel And so it started as Christy's Kitchen Throwbacks, and now it's just Christy Carlson Romano, and she doesn't just do the kitchen throwbacks. She does a bunch of different little series on her YouTube. It's really great, especially if you're someone who's like listening to our podcast and you find this stuff interesting. I definitely recommend checking out her YouTube, because I think you would enjoy watching it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing to note is that she dealt with alcoholism and depression and self-harm in her late teens and early 20s, and kind of took like a separation from acting for a little while, and then, you know, constantly was getting pulled back in, but had to take some time to kind of work through all of that. And now she's like a married mom of 2 kids. She's a wholesome 37-year-old.
Yeah, one of the things I really like about her show, well, her YouTube channel in general, so she does a lot of reactions with the cast members. And all of these cast members, by the way, except for Donna Pascal and Shia LaBeouf, have been on her show. Stephen Anthony Lawrence and Nick Spano have been on multiple times. AJ Chouth was on as well. But she does the cooking ones and she does the reaction ones, but she kind of lets the guests guide how deep they get, because there are some that are very surface level, and then there's one where she had Brendan Baker on, Johnny Tsunami, name dropped many times on this episode. I don't know why I have, maybe because I watched that episode and I was really impressed, because she asked him how he's been doing and he was like, well, it was really rough there in my 20s. And she was like, yeah. She was like, honestly, everyone I have on the show, it's like that. And she also had Jodie Sweetin on, and they both talked about their sobriety. I'm starting to feel like you're never going to get a higher percentage of sober people in one room without just like getting all child actors together. So, but yeah, no, I like her YouTube channel a lot, and I've watched way too many episodes, and I just thought that was worth mentioning.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now the rest of these we can probably go through a little bit quickly, but Donna Pascal did more acting. So this was Eileen Stevens. So she did a lot more acting. She's 66 now, prior to even Stevens. She took a break after, and she'll do like small speaking roles occasionally. Her most recent credit was in 2017. She was in The Flash.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I'll let you speak to the Saturday Night Fever, because...
Have you seen Saturday Night Fever?
No.
Okay, I watched it for the first time last year, and just really quickly, it's a disco movie. Obviously, it's John Travolta, whatever. But the whole point throughout it, there's this one girl who's like always available for him. She could be his dance partner, but he wants someone else. She's like making it a point of being in his face. Her name is Annette, and that's her.
Oh
And
my
she's
God.
she's a pretty main character.
Yeah.
So she doesn't work that much now. I put 66 as her estimate age. It said she was born in 54 or something like that, 53.
Yeah.
You skipped over Tom Virtue.
Oh, I did. Let's go to Tom Virtue. He's been in the most DCOMs of any actor.
And a whopping 6 DCOMs of playing America's dad, versus Brenda Song and Raven are tied for second with 5, and Jason Dolley has 4.
He acts consistently, like that's just what he does. A lot of small roles here and there, but Secret Life of the American Teenager. He was in Transformers: Dark Side of the Moon with Shia LaBeouf.
But I don't think they were in a scene together, because it said 1969.
Wait.
His character was Black Ops NASA technician, and then parentheses 1969. So I haven't watched the movie, but unless Shia time travels, I don't think they're in a scene together.
Got it. It's understandable. He had a small role in Green Book, which was Best Picture, and I know, like, I think one of his most recent credits was he was in an episode of Dirty John as well.
Yeah, he acts consistently, but his main role besides Even Stevens was in The Secret Life, because that was regularly recurring. He's just like most of these ones you can find on his Wikipedia, but if you click into them, like if you click into Green Book and you look at the cast, he's not on it. So that's how small.
Got it.
So I feel a little bad.
Then we have Nick Spano,
who is 45.
45. He had more roles around the time of Even Stevens, including a reoccurring role on Moesha. but really has only done small roles and kind of quit acting since 2011. He's more in like the restaurant entertainment scene now. So he founded and he opened and owns Hollywood Night Market, which is like a once a week food and local art vendors in Hollywood. On Thursday nights is what it's on now. I don't know what it started at, but that's in 2009. He opened. In the pandemic. They made it so you could pre-order from the food vendors, and that was really sweet, and I want them to go back to that. They did it when things were really bad, and now that like they're allowed to have night markets, they took off the pre-ordering, which makes it so I'm less likely to go, unfortunately. But it was fun when they were allowing the pre-ordering. And then he also opened a cafe. So he owned Recreation Cafe, which is kind of like an events. They hosted like a lot of events. So it's kind of like a creative space and cafe. And so he founded that in 2019.
That's so cute. I didn't know that he did all of that. That's
Yeah,
impressive.
I only knew because of the Hollywood Night Market. And then I had a gut feeling. I was like, I feel like he owns something else in LA. And sure enough, Recreation Cafe he owns and opened.
That's great. I love to hear them breaking out.
Yeah.
AJ Troth. He's 34, same age as Shia. He went on to voice Josh Mankey in Kim Possible, which was Kim's like sometimes love interest. He's done a few small roles. Hasn't really acted for a few years. He said on Ren's Kitchen Throwback, or not Ren's, Christie's Kitchen Throwback, that he's working more in recruitment, possibly. Like, he made it sound like he's like in the Disney entertainment world on the other side, but I haven't confirmed that. I know he did marry a fellow alum, Leah Pipes, who is most notable from the originals.
Yeah, but they
were married for 5 years. They were together for 8 years because they were together for 3 years before they got married. They got married in 2014, divorced in 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Margot Harshman, who is Tawny. She's 35 now. She's done some acting, reoccurring speaking roles in Big Bang Theory and NCIS. You have a few fun facts on here. I'll let you shout those out.
Fun fact number 1, she went to a high school dance with Shia LaBeouf, like while they were still on the show together. Fun fact number 2, she was in a movie called Sorority Row in 2009 with Leah Pipes, who later married and divorced AJ Troth, as we mentioned, who was also the angsty lead character in which DCOM did we mention earlier? Pixel Perfect. Fun. Yes. Cute. It comes full circle, baby. Yep. Okay.
And then we're going to finish it off with Stephen Anthony Lawrence, who is most close to our age here. So he's 30. He was in a lot of things around the time of Even Steven. So he was in Cheaper by the Dozen, Cat in the Hat, Kicking and Screaming. But he lost jobs as he got older, when he started to lose his hair.
And by older, we mean in his teens.
Yeah. Yes.
Unfortunately, he was like 14 and balding.
And you noted here that he took some time off to take care of his dying father, and now he teaches acting to kids, and he has a podcast. He hasn't grown. If you look him up, he literally looks the exact same except balding. It's really crazy. I also read that a few years back, he was like spotted in a Los Angeles mall as a Santa helper.
Yeah, he addressed this in something I read or watched. I don't know if you remember in January, there was the whole Beans Dad thing on Twitter.
No.
Did you see that? Okay, so there was this really long thread that went viral and then got deleted because this dad was like talking about how during this pandemic in January, his daughter couldn't figure out how to open up a can of beans and she like really wanted beans. And instead of showing her how to use the can opener or telling her or doing it for her, he let her try and figure it out for like 6 hours.
Oh my God.
Like a 10-year-old girl, maybe younger. Which people were like, that's psychologically fucked up. Like, because he was like proud of it. He was like, she's learning skills. And he kept talking down. Anyway, so then because of that, Vox wrote an article like, but what about the original beans? and so they called up Stephen Anthony Lawrence and wrote a long article about him recently, and it was sad to hear about his balding. And apparently he lost both of his parents to cancer. I think his mom when he was younger, and then
Oh,
after in his 20s his dad got it as well, and so he took some time off to help take care of him before he passed. And
yeah.
then yeah.
Oh,
He talked about being a Santa helper, that he just like enjoyed. He wanted to do something for fun to bring joy to people.
yeah, that's kind of what I was reading too. Yeah, that he just did it for fun. Kind of wrap up before I do a little quiz with you for is Even Stevens child friendly? Would you like to speak first on that?
I think so. I think there's a couple outdated episodes in season 1, particularly Scrub Day, which is about bullying, and Secrets and Spies, which has some racist elements to it. But the rest of the show, I think, holds up. I think it feels more realistic than a lot of Disney Channel shows. More relatable.
Yeah, so in the Zoom reunion, they kind of speaking on how the first 6 episodes that were filmed and shot, yes, the creator and writer obviously was involved in those first 6 episodes, but then the kind of like long-term production team that became like this family for the remainder of the show came on after those first 6 episodes. So I think those are kind of the episodes that are a little more questionable, though I think Scrub Day is still on season 1, but it's a later episode.
I think both of those are.
Oh, they are. Oh, I didn't know about Secrets and Spies. But they also mentioned that it's like Disney kind of had this wave 1, which was so weird, the famous Jet Jackson, and that followed a model. And then Lizzie McGuire started the new model of Disney shows, and Even Stevens was kind of left alone.
It's in between.
Yeah, it was in between. It didn't really follow the first model, and it doesn't stick to the second model. And they kind of just let them make this show that they wanted, and that's why it's so different from the
rest
later
of the
Disney shows,
Channel.
which we're going to start to get into, that kind of follow a structure, and Even Stevens didn't. So I do think it's child friendly, but I think for Disney, especially at that time, it discusses topics that middle schoolers and high schoolers struggle with that aren't necessarily addressed as blatantly as they were in Even Stevens. Like they don't get discussed in detail in like Lizzie McGuire and That's So Raven. Like these topics were like heavier topics, but very real for kids of that age. So I do think it was child friendly, but I do think it brought up real things that kids that age struggle with, which I think is very, very important and follows kind of the newer model that Disney is now doing.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much of a hybrid it was until I was looking into the older shows, and I think the Jersey was on through 2004, and Even Stevens ended in 2003.
Yeah.
But I think for some reason Disney Channel like rarely, if ever, played reruns, because I don't recall any of their first 3 shows before Even Stevens, and I know I watched a lot of Even Stevens on reruns. I do think Lizzie and Raven have their moments. I know Raven has a moment about racism, and Lizzie has a moment about eating disorders.
Yeah.
So I know that they do, and we'll get into that more later on. They do get into issues in ways that I think Disney is almost like trying to bring back, like
Yep.
like it was like a decade of like pop stars and wizards and like fun stuff, and nothing was really real. And then we got Andy Mack, which was their first main gay character, and it was a show where the premise was about teenage pregnancy, and like it feels almost like a rebirth, or like coming
Yeah.
full circle.
Yeah.
And I think even the way that they're shot, like the cinematography and Even Stevens, the coloring, it
Yeah.
feels more real, like you could step into it somehow. And
Yeah.
I sent you a clip on Instagram of some show. I don't even remember what it's called. It's like this cute time travel haunting show.
Yeah.
Do you remember like the kids are like, there's this haunted hotel or something, and they're like traveling back in time?
Yeah. It kind of felt like, I don't remember what else I compared it to, but I said that like if Disney was making a Stranger Things. Like,
It feels almost like early 2000s Nickelodeon, if we're
yeah,
being honest.
that too,
Like,
yeah.
and I think they're getting that way, like they're pulling away from some of the brighter colors. And I think that's what Even Stevens feels like, is it almost feels the way you would think of Nickelodeon, is that like it's more real, it's more
Yeah.
grounded. Despite
For
the fact that
sure.
we have episodes like Deep Chocolate, which
Yeah.
I never knew.
Yeah, which in that Zoom, AJ Troth said was one of his favorite episodes, and I was dying. 'Cause he hated it.
I feel like I need to watch that just so I can hate it.
Oh.
Do you want to do the ranking or the trivia?
Let's do trivia and then finish with ranking, or do you want to do ranking and finish with trivia? What would you prefer?
Let's do some hit me with some Even Stevens trivia.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
I'm calling this segment The Stevens Said What? And so it's mostly quotes. And so you have
Okay.
to tell me, I'll read you the quote and you'll tell me who said it. But some of it is questions as well. I didn't stick to all quotes.
Okay. Let me get ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. I think you're going to know this one, but it's a good one to start on. Do you know how many impurities one carrot can pick up in his lifetime?
Is that Tom?
No, but that's a good guess.
How many impurities one carrot can pick up in his lifetime?
Yeah, do you know how many impurities one carrot can pick up in his lifetime?
Is it Ren?
No.
I'm sorry. You thought I was going to get it and it's not Tom or Ren?
No, and it's funny because you had mentioned this in our first, because this is from season 1, and you had mentioned this in our first podcast.
Is it? It's not Larry.
Health nut. Surprisingly, huh?
Donnie?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's like making a smoothie and washing carrots, like, and he's like, "Do you know how many impurities one carrot can pick up in his lifetime?"
I think because they kind of ruined Donnie's character after that. I think that came before they made Donnie stupid.
Yeah. It is.
Good to know. What's next?
Oh, I gotta go. They're bringing out cheese sticks that are about 1 foot long.
For a second, I thought you were actually like, oh, they're bringing out cheese sticks in the hotel. I need to stop now. They're bringing out cheese sticks that are about 1 foot long.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they're bringing out cheese sticks that are about 1 foot long. It's either Louis or Twitty.
Those are great guesses.
But it's neither?
It's neither. I feel like it needs a sound effect, like
Maybe I'll just isolate that one and use that as my sound effect in editing.
That sounds good.
They're bringing out cheese sticks that are about 1 foot long. Is it also Donnie?
No.
Is it season 1 or season 2?
This is season 1.
They're bringing out cheese sticks that are about 1 foot long.
It's a weird one. It's not who you would expect to say this.
They're bringing out cheese sticks that are about 1 foot long. Is it the dad?
No, I'm going to tell you.
Who is it?
It's Ren.
What?
I know, because when she said that, I was like, wait, what? This isn't a Ren thing?
Being obsessed with food, that's not a Ren character. That's Louis and his friends.
Yeah, yes.
They create a club just to eat pancakes.
Yeah, literally. Next one.
Why
do only 2 of my eyes need glasses?
Only 2 of my eyes need glasses?
Why do only 2 of my eyes need glasses?
Is this said by someone who wears glasses?
It might have to do.
I don't think any of them wear glasses.
In season 1 where they were maybe filming a movie of some sort.
Oh, Tawny says this. That was way too many. I was gonna go Tom for
and she's the alien, and she's like,
yeah, because she's a third eye.
My eyes. Yeah, I think you'll get this one because we had brought it up, but I wanted to test your memory. In episode 12, Deep Chocolate, the Stevens family without Louis, takes on a Saturday morning family project. What is this project?
Is it taekwondo? No, it's tap dancing.
Yeah, it's tap dancing.
Tap dancing. Saturday morning tap dance. And they have an instructor in the house.
Yep. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Go.
This is going to be a tough one, but what is a gooey goober?
A gooey goober.
And this is not a quote. This is what is a gooey goober?
Is it something to eat?
It is something to eat.
A gooey goober.
It's a sandwich that has 2 ingredients. What are those 2 ingredients?
Is it just a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
It does have peanut butter. It is not a PB&J.
I think I vaguely recall them making it.
Yeah.
Was it like a moment? It was like a kitchen moment with like...
It was a kitchen moment.
Was it like a cute family thing?
I know Louis is there, and I feel like Twitty is there, and then for some reason I also feel like the dad is there.
Yeah. Is it peanut butter and banana?
Oh, I wish.
Peanut butter and bananas. Is it something that's disgusting?
It's kind of gross, yeah.
Like peanut butter and Marmite or something?
Yeah, do you want me to tell you, or do you want to guess?
Yeah.
Peanut butter and turkey.
Oh.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of weird.
Yeah, not good.
Okay. Wow, I'm bombing this.
No, it's kind of hard, I feel. So the next 2 questions are not quotes, they're questions.
Okay.
Why was Louis's history test on the Constitution canceled?
His history test?
On the Constitution is canceled, and the teacher like posts a sign in the door that the test is canceled because...
What season is this?
2.
Okay. Okay, Amanda. Is this... He played a prank, right?
He does play a prank in that episode. However, the test being canceled does not have to do with the prank.
Did the teacher run away to fulfill their dreams?
I wish. No.
Did the teacher get sick? I'm just guessing now. I don't know. What?
The teacher's something has babies.
I don't remember this, but I remember that. The teacher's...
So what is having babies?
It's something obscure. It's like a hamster or a lizard or something.
It's monkeys. It is something obscure. Yeah. Yep.
Oh my god. Also, I so need to pay better attention. Wow. Okay, continue.
No, this is meant to be kind of hard. Maybe I'll learn for next season, make it a little bit easier. This is the first time.
Okay, full disclaimer to anyone listening. I was ready for like trivia. Like, I'm all up in the Wikipedia pages. I know all this shit. And then she's like, which animal gave birth?
Yeah. Okay, this one I feel like you watched the whole fucking episode. I know you did because we talked about it last week for a while. This is the Halloween episode.
I've watched all of these episodes. I've watched
That's
more
true.
of them, Jessica.
Yeah, that's true. What does Louis dress up for Halloween?
Oh my god. Is he in like a dinosaur suit?
It's not. No,
He's in one of those inflatable suits, isn't he?
Yeah, it is inflatable, correct.
But it's not a dinosaur? Is he a
It's not a
cowboy on a
dinosaur.
horse?
Huh?
Is he a cowboy on a horse?
Okay. It's like kind of, but not. But you're in the right direction.
He's on a donkey, right?
Not on a donkey,
But not a horse?
but he is a jockey of some sort.
Oh, he's a jockey?
Yes, but of what animal? So that's what I'm saying. You saying like he's a cowboy
on
on a horse. Like he is a jockey, but for what animal?
And it's really concerning that it's not a horse or a donkey.
Correct, it's neither. It's an Antarctic animal.
Oh, a polar bear? No, you said Antarctic. A penguin. Oh, that's right. He's in a jockey uniform on a penguin.
Yes. Yeah, he's a penguin jockey. I really thought you were going to get that one.
My brain really
I was like,
said
what?
polar bear for Antarctic. I feel so dumb.
I was making chicken salad, but decided to give myself a hydrating scalp treatment instead.
Donnie.
Yeah. Yep.
That one I know.
Yeah. Kissing is like basketball. Either the ball went in the hoop or it didn't. We're on season 3 now.
Oh, okay. So we're in the kiss, and he's explaining what happened with Tawny. Did Tom say this?
Tom did not say this.
Twitty?
Yes, Twitty said
Okay,
it.
Twitty was my first instinct, but then I was like, this sounds a little off. Like maybe Tom said it, but no.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I remember he's like trying to explain like we kind of kissed, but like I don't know if we kissed, and they're like, how do you?
Yeah, and he was like, either you did or you didn't. We heard some noises, so we thought it might be a wounded animal. This is from one of my favorite episodes of this season, Band on the Roof.
Oh, is that Tugnut?
They're speaking about Tugnut.
Tawny says that to Tugnut.
Not Tawny.
Twitty.
Louis.
Louis?
Yeah. He says that. But I get why you say that Tawny said it, but no, Louis says it. Okay, 2 more questions. This next one's going to be a question, and then the final one is a quote.
Okay, I'm going to get this. I'm going to get it.
What lucky item does Twitty carry on him? I don't even know how to help you with this one either.
I'm just seeing his cute face in my head. He was in a decom too. A lucky item?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it has to be something ridiculous.
Yep. Correct.
Why do I feel like it's baseball related?
It's not baseball related.
Is it a dirty sock?
No, but I kind of wish it was.
Is it a food item?
It's not a food item. I'd almost say it's a science item. It's not really a science item either.
What is it, like a hammer?
It's a magnet. Why is a hammer a science item? I would say a hammer is
but not really a science object. So I thought like construction.
Sure.
There's geometry involved.
Not really science, construction.
Like physics and geometry.
Sure. So, last question, which is a quote. I gotta pop a stress it. I'll catch up with you guys.
Ruby?
Oh, good guess. No.
Is that the right group of friends or is it the wrong one?
Wrong group of friends.
I gotta pop a stress it. Does Louis say this?
No, Louis doesn't say it.
Tom? Beans? Donnie? Tawny?
No, it's Twitty.
Tawny would never say this. I didn't actually guess her.
Twitty.
What?
It's Twitty. It's Twitty.
That doesn't sound like anything he would say.
He says it. I'm telling ya.
You wish that's the name of his TCOM. Co-starring Lalaine. Wow, okay. I bombed so bad.
Next time I need to make them a little easier.
Also, I need to pay more attention.
Because I try to pick fun, slightly obscure, but I'll go more like a little obscure, but a little more mainstream.
And maybe next time that we do this, I won't be like a month out of watching.
Yeah, potentially.
I don't know if that would have helped, though. Those were hard. Those were good.
Yeah, I thought they were fun. I tried to pick fun ones. Let's finish up with our ranking and then close out.
Okay, so every final season episode of a series, we're going to give you our final rankings. And so Jessica and I have rated each series with 5 categories. We have humor, impact, star power, rewatchability, and does it hold up or relevance. And we each gave a score out of 5 for them, averaged our own out, and then added them up or averaged them up, whatever, to create the overall score. And that will sort of create a ranking list so that later we'll have Even Stevens and That's So Raven and Lizzie McGuire up against each other, and then we'll add in Hannah Montana and all of them. Obviously, for now, the ranking wise, Even Stevens is number 1.
Yep.
But what scores did you give it?
So I gave it, and I'm not going to explain all of them, but I will explain some of them. But I gave it a 5 for humor, a 3 for impact, a 3 for star power, just because I think it did start, it started a lot of good careers, but like when we did the Where Are You Now, there's a lot of them that aren't acting or really only do guest roles. So, we have the star power of Shia LaBeouf and Christy Carlson Romano, but I'd say other than that, you kind of just have actors that continued on to be side actors. Re-Watchability, I gave a 4. I honestly would have given it a 5 if it wasn't for season 1. And does it hold up? I gave a 3.5. So I averaged out to a 3.7 out of 5.
I gave a 4 for humor. I didn't think it was as funny as you did. Sometimes I was annoyed.
Yeah.
A 4 for impact. I just felt like it was more groundbreaking. I don't know. I'm slightly convinced of what you said, because I also gave it a 3.5 for star power, but now I'm like, should I have given it a 3? I gave it a 3.5 almost solely based on the fact that Shia LaBeouf has had one of the best careers of any Disney Channel actor after
Sure.
Disney. But you're right. The side actors didn't take off the way that they have in some of the other shows.
Yeah.
Rewatchability, I gave it a 3 because I don't think I will be revisiting any of these episodes moving forward. But I enjoyed some of them.
Yeah.
And does it hold up relevance? I gave it a 4. I thought a lot of those plot lines were good, and there wasn't really anything I watched where I was like, kids don't deal with this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it all felt, for the most part, pretty realistic.
My score also averaged out to a 3.7.
Yep.
So hopefully this doesn't keep happening and we don't give 3.7s to everyone. I think this was our baseline, and now we know if this is what I think is a 3 or a 4 or whatever, what is Lizzie in comparison.
Yep.
Average, it's a 3.7. It's number 1 right now because it's the only show we've talked about, and our next episode we will be talking about Even Stevens the movie.
Yes. Very excited. I haven't rewatched it in a long, long time, and probably about 10 years, but Amanda thinks she hasn't watched it in even longer, so.
I'm excited because I recall there's some Larry Beale.
Yeah, there is.
Some Larry Beale action.
Please tune in to our next episode for the Even Stevens movie. If you want to check out our socials, you can watch us on YouTube at 90s Babies Nostalgia. Spell out the word 90s. On Instagram, it's also 90s Babies Nostalgia. And then on Twitter, we are at 90s_babies. Also, I just wanted to give a little shout out. If you kind of liked our concept of the show and us running through Even Stevens, but it's leaving you wanting a little more Even Stevens, I found a podcast that I listened to a couple episodes of that's pretty good, called Even Stevens Ranked. They do it's about a 45-minute to an hour on each episode of Even Stevens, and they're through about the end of season 2 at this point. So if you want to listen to a little bit more in depth about Even Stevens and have some actor interviews as well, definitely check out that podcast. It's ran by 2 major fans of Even Stevens.
That's insane. Their podcast episodes are longer than the show episodes.
Yes, they are.
But if there's actor interviews, I'm here for it. Maybe I need to check that out.
Yeah, Even Stevens Ranked.
And as always, thank you to Patrick Dunovit for our music, to Dawn. Did I call her Dawn Wheeler last time that we?
Yes, you did.
Her name is Dawn Wheeler Osei. She's my friend. I'll link her socials in our show notes. But for our artwork, and to anyone who has listened this far, these episodes are long. If you have feedback, we're happy to take feedback on any of those socials that Jessica mentioned, because we're just doing this for our enjoyment, but also for yours.
Yeah, and if you would like to be featured on a future episode or leave us a voice note in our DMs about your thoughts about season 3 of Even Stevens, we would greatly appreciate it. So please reach out on Twitter or on Instagram, and maybe we'll include you in a future episode. All right, see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Keys, babe.